Silverbow Historic Preservation Officer. I am excited to introduce the Butte Silverbow Comprehensive Historic Preservation Plan tonight. It's the result of a 12-month planning process that involving public comment, professional input, and a 12-person ad hoc committee of local residents with consultant support provided by Inter-Resources Planning, Scott Carpenter and Jennifer Boyer, who are with us here tonight. The plan, in a nutshell, lays the foundation. A foundation that probably should have been set a while ago, but again, it has been created now. And that foundation will basically set a course, I think, for the preservation program for Butte Silverbow for the present as well as the near future. Specifically, that program involves regulatory programs, educational and outreach efforts, and various financial incentives. So the plan, I think, provides a nice, again, framework for all that to kind of come together for people to see what the priorities of the preservation program are, who are the various partners and players involved, and how they can work more effectively together, and then perhaps most importantly, identifying certain funding sources that will help implement these programs on behalf of the community. And so with that, I'd like to turn over this presentation to Scott Carpenter and Jennifer Boyer, and I'm available to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Okay. Yes, Jennifer Boyer. I'm in Bozeman, Montana, and work for Future West. Mr. Chief Executive and members of the council, thanks so much for your time tonight. We are super excited to be here and share the results of 12 months of hard work by a very dedicated committee. So we presented last week at the Historic Preservation Commission meeting, and are pleased to be on your agenda tonight with our final plan. As you're aware, thanks, Jim. Our comprehensive historic preservation plan is a requirement. It's required by our state historic preservation office for a certified local government. It establishes a predictable and rational process for dealing with the vast number of historic properties. It also establishes programs and direction for awareness, education, community involvement, and sets the framework, as Jim Jarvis just mentioned, for compliance with federal, state, and local ordinances and standards. And this is all a great reason, and it's a required reason to complete this project. However, next slide, because you chose to create a citizen committee, this process took on a much broader spectrum of issues and concerns. And really, what the committee did an amazing job of is linking the value of historic preservation and the irreplaceable resources that Butte has with also an economic opportunity. Next slide. They brought in experts and folks from other communities talking about heritage tourism and community pride. Next slide. Looking at environmental impacts of our decisions. Next slide. Preserved cultural heritage and education opportunities. And finally, they sort of wrapped up all this information, next slide, with guest speakers, public involvement, folks from near and far, and sort of focused a plan that capitalizes on the unique community image and the added value that historic preservation has for Butte. So this is a super unique plan. And here are your members of your committee. These folks worked hard. When we asked for additional meetings, they said yes. When we asked for additional time, they said yes. And as you can see by the names up there, you're familiar with these folks and these leaders in your community. They brought together a very diverse spectrum of attitudes and experiences, and we learned a lot from each other. And thank you for assembling such a fabulous team. Next. I just want to remind folks that this process was consensus-based, and not only was it consensus-based, but the committee said we have to have 100% agreement, and that is hard to get to sometimes. And I just want to commend the hard work of every member on that committee. In addition to public comment that we took at every single meeting, Scott and I conducted interviews with other folks out in the community and within the government to talk about different programs, because we didn't want this plan to be siloed. We wanted it to be integrated into all the other activities that Butte's pursuing. So this is truly a innovative and ground-up approach. Next slide. We have a vision statement for our plan, and again, when you look at that, it really demonstrates this holistic view of Butte. I'm going to just, next slide, go over some of the big picture goals. These are all in section 5. I'm sure everyone has had time to at least take a quick look at the plan, but section 5 lays out sort of these larger framework goals. One is to look at the economic benefits of historic preservation. We brought in speakers that are internationally known on this topic to help our committee wrestle through some of the best approaches for historic preservation. Also looking to coordinate these efforts with other programs and our local businesses, supporting heritage tourism. Obviously that is a strong driver in Butte. Integrating it into other policies and programs. That includes like your comprehensive land use plan, for example. Making sure that our local government, nonprofits, community groups are all sort of singing from the same sheet of paper. So making sure there's good coordination and integration with that. Having established, predictable, and transparent inventory procedures, and then a database that can be easily accessed, because it's hard to do historic preservation if you don't truly know the conditions and opportunities that are out there. Also looking, and you just spoke about this in the opening of the meeting, looking at management and marketing efforts, as well as the Copper Gateway program, and really broadening the available and linking property owners with good funding opportunities. I'm going to turn it over to Scott, and he's going to kind of walk you through all the major action items that are in the plan.